Welcome everyone to this workshop. Today we have three speakers. We have Andy Barrett, Dr. Chandradasan, and Dr. Sam Manickam with us. Andy Barrett is the co-founder and artistic director of Excavate Theatre Company, and he has written and directed many theatre productions. And he is um, and the next And our next speaker for today is Dr. Chandradasan. He was a professor in chemistry at St. Albert's College in Nolam, and he's the founder of Lokadharmi Theatre Group in Maravilla, a children's theatre group based in Kochi, India. He's also the director, member board of RRC Bangalore of NSD. He has directed over 30 plays in Malayalam, English, Kannada, Lithuanian, Finnish, and Tamil. He won the national award for the best play at the Mahindra Theatre Festival for his play Kannavaram, New Delhi in 2008. And then we have Dr. Sam Manickam with us. He is a clinical psychologist in India and provides online therapy and supervisory sessions. He has been working in several countries, and he's an experienced professor from CMC Vellore, skilled in non-profit organization, gestalt therapy, psychotherapy, community clinical psychology, and research and empathy. So these are our three speakers. Welcome all of you and welcome to this wonderful session. Over to you.
Our team got better at delivering the training across the three.
Good evening. Since this is a theatre workshop, thanks Sanjana for the introduction. I was wondering whether we can have a small introduction of the participants so that we would like to take it as an interactive kind of a process rather than just the speakers sharing their thoughts. So I would appreciate
if you can mute yourself.
If each one of you can just unmute and tell your name, and I would appreciate if the windows your screens are shown so that we'll talk to the people. That's what we do in the theater, or what we did in the past. So we would like to have the audience having their screen on. Yeah, so we'll be able to see you, Lakshmi, as well as other people. Yeah, thank you, Krishna Nair. Yeah. Radhika Mohan, oh, okay, yeah, the same person I thought of, yeah, Rithi, but you can probably say, Sanjana has already introduced the speaker, so can you just say one sentence or two sentences about each one of you so that we know to whom we are interacting with, please? I can probably start calling on Radhika to start first. Yeah, Radhika.
Yeah. I'm Radhika. I teach psychology.
Okay. Yeah. Lots of thoughts are coming to me. Anyway, I'm not going to that. Rithi. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Riddhi. I'm a theatre student.
Oh, nice that you are in. Lakshmi.
Hello, I'm a psychiatrist. I'm from Chennai, and we are currently involved in a research project where theatre is part of the project. So.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, nice. I think, yeah, good to know that, Dr. Lakshmi. Yeah. Qatar.
Hi, good evening. Sorry, my camera is off because I'm also with my daughter. She's 3 years old. I'm a practicing psychologist, and I also manage a project on mental health literacy, adolescent mental health literacy in Mumbai in schools. And we finished one phase, and we have to look at the second phase. It's a pilot. So we're trying to understand how to make it funder ready, or also more effective, and hence theatre of oppressed is something that's always interested me. We've used certain pedagogies in teacher training, knowing very little, so we are looking forward to today. Thank you so much for organizing this.
Anyone else would like to introduce yourself? This has been very useful, so we can address the concerns that you have brought in. Today we are planning that we'll have Andy talk about his experience in relation to the theatre, what we did, and then Dr. Chandradasan would talk about share few words from his side, and I would share my views after that, and then we'll have more of a discussion, and you can unmute and ask, or you can use the chat box to raise your questions. I am not able to view my chat box, but I think Sanjana will be helping us in that. Yeah. So Andy doesn't need any introduction. He has already been introduced in the main room as well as here. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. What I'm thinking, Sam, is because we have a good group of people here that have a lot of thoughts and experience, my sense is, and as I've already spoken, I think I'd rather not say anything and wait for questions, really, so things can arise, because so much has been said already that I think there may be an element of repetition, and it may be that there are some really good questions here that could move us into a different space. So I'm going to pass, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Then over to Chandradasan, please.
Yeah, I'll go with Andy's suggestion. If there are questions, we can avoid repetitions. I don't know whether these people in this room have heard us talking in the main room. If they have already heard about it, so we do not repeat it again here. So we can go a little further. We can speak something unsaid if some questions or some interrogation or some comments can start coming in. So I'll also wait for the people to let this be a participatory kind of thing. Then kind of a one-way monologue.
Fine. Probably they have not heard me, so I will say a few words what I did, so that probably can. No, but my job, or me being a clinical psychologist, was trying to link the theater that was showcased, or which was played in the community, and with the audience. That's what I did at the scene where the play was shown. So 3 things I wanted to share. One thing is mental health professionals were not reaching out to the people in the community. Though we talked about the community mental health, when I retrospect, did we really reach out to them in person? Maybe not to the extent that Indian community would have liked to. That's one of my realizations. And second thing is, it is not just the theater, it's not just the audience, but I found a space which can be useful in connecting the two, making the people interact, asking the audience, raising questions from the audience, or audience getting involved in the post theater process. I think that was a great challenge, and that was a great learning. And of course, this brought up a lot of issues related to the psychological theories which we have studied in our textbooks regarding the field theory, figure and field, which Kurt Lewin had talked about, and how do we connect it? How does the connection has to happen from a theoretical perspective? Is there something happening, just the figure and the field, or there is a contact or connection, which people now from a Gestalt perspective would talk about the aesthetic relation between the figure and the field. So here I leave it, because already, as Andy and Chandradasan said, they've already spoken to you, and you can raise questions or probably share your thoughts, because you had already heard about it. So we welcome you that. Please go ahead. Anyone who wants to...
There's a question from Vishnu. There's a question from Vishnu. What are the benefits of using this methodology over other methods, and how would the nature of data be, and how will it be analyzed or interpreted?
Okay, I think we can wait. Let the audience, let us see whether there's any other thing coming up. Yeah.
Sure.
You can give the question again later. Yeah.
The next question by Dr. Trinja is, I hope I'm saying that correct.
Trinya, yeah.
How do we begin using theatre in the practice of mental health literacy?
Okay.
Can I just
please
get
Andy,
started at least to bring both of those questions together?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, how to begin using theatre is theatre. If you think back to the origins of theatre, it's all connected to the idea of ritual, and you think of it really, it's a very social public form where people come together to discuss to work through, to present representations of their experience and figure out what's going on. So what theatre allows us to do is to have a social conversation about issues that we want to explore. So how we begin using it is an interesting question. I think the way that we began using it is very helpful because in a way there were two models that we were following with theatre. One was that actually we would create a performance at some point which shared our findings. Now there will always and shared thoughts about the things we discovered, about stigma, about the way people responded. Sorry, can you turn off your microphone if that's all right, everyone? If you're not speaking, because there's a real echo. Sorry, I lost my thread a little bit there. The other thing that we did was about how do you use theatre to develop a conversation? How is theatre a way to provoke and allow people to feel safe, but also to create the kind of questions that they may be able to respond to create the sense of stakes, of emotional connection to fictional characters that they feel that they can relate to and have a connection with and want to help by providing information. So it's about using the emotional power of theatre for people to get caught up in people's stories and fascinated by it and see within their stories part of their own stories and experience. But it's absolutely about using the power of theatre. So it's not just a dry conversation about what do you think, but it's about the stakes, raising the emotional temperature so that you're committed. You have to, I can help you. I know this from my own life. I can tell you what to do. So that's one of the things that theatre can do. And I would say, what's the benefit over other methodology? Well, all methodologies have their own benefits. I wouldn't like to say this is better than that, but it does allow you to do the thing I've just said, to create these spaces where you can tell your own stories by imagining them in the lives of other people, by anonymizing. These stories were based on real people's experiences, but then were changed. We took bit of this person's story, and a bit of that person's story, and a bit of that person's story, and we knitted it all together. So it's always anonymous, but it's always based on the truth of a wider collective of people. Ooh.
Thank you so much for answering that, Andy. Is it all right if I give an example of what we tried on field, and maybe that will start some conversation if you think that we can take that?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. So we, for example, we were talking about training teachers and asking them to take note when the student has depression, or at least guide the student to a counselor. So this is a training program for teachers. And we asked teachers, gave them a narrative of and holding a jug of water in a hand to imagine that to be a student. And as we would add the water, we would use a narrative of a student suffering. And I would go ahead and ask the teachers who are observing this jug being full. And there's a teacher who's holding that jug, and the jug being the student, and saying, you are the teachers who are observing this student. What would you do? Don't tell me, just come and do what you would do. So eventually, as part of this exercise, we would at a time even have up to 6 teachers joining that, where somebody would say, I'm going to take away the jug. Some would do it. They would take away the jug, or they would try to pour the water out, or they would hold the hand of the thing. So we would invite the teachers to come in and just in action do something of how will they support this overflowing jug of water, and through that build the narrative of how we're going to help that student. So this is our starting point in our literacy workshop so far that we have so far achieved and found it very relevant and very effective, rather than we actually persuading teachers and educating them about mental health and what they can do for the students. It also, I think, helps the students, the teachers understand their frustration, irritation, or their helplessness when they see a child suffering, if say the parents are not agreeing to seek service. But I was just wondering, how can we build this more, and also how can we, in the conceptualization of these programs and to integrate these methodologies, how can we improve our our content and our plans when we roll out these workshops to make it more participatory, like we are learning from you, that it's not something like a top down where an expert comes in and talks to them about mental health, because every school has a different culture. And so we understand, so sometimes we'll have the male teachers, for example, in a school, the male teacher would say that we never go, and we will always tell a lady teacher to talk if it's a girl student, but we will not address it. So we need to also those things also came up when we did this kind of exercises. So just how to take it forward, and how to what more I think we can learn from you would be really helpful. Maybe this can be one of the examples we can use, if you like.
So what I will add, can I speak?
Yeah, please, Chandradasan. Yeah.
So what I will try to add with Auntie what he said is that see, first thing which we agreed in ourselves that it's all context based. So the work which we do in one place cannot be transplanted to somewhere else. So for each space, for each case, we have to have our own kind of new methodology, new approaches. So we can have the history of forum theater or whatever kind of theater that has been done, and we can go and study and read and understand what were the benefits and what were the techniques and the strategies of that. But we cannot just transplant it, take something out of it and do it here. So for what we have done is just for this thing, we cannot even repeat it somewhere else. So even when we did in the 8 different spaces in Kerala, in 4 different districts, we did not repeat it from one place to the other place. We have created different strategies, different narratives that suits each place. So what we did, our process was that first Sanjana and this research people, they have created the first contact, and they have been meeting these people, having a good rapport with them, so they know them by name, they can identify them. So there's a good kind of agreement, and they have collected a lot of stories, narratives from these people, recorded it, transcribed it, and given to us. Then I myself went into all these different spaces to see the spaces and see the people who can organize this local, or the community leaders who can organize it, and the doctors and the other people who are around, and have a talk with them, have a feeling about the space, have a feeling about the problems of that space, and what will be the kind of space and arrangements we are going to do. So again, a second level of building of the relationship happened, and then we came back. And then Andy came from UK, and before Andy came, I had a workshop with my actors, how to be ordinary human beings, to take off their actors kind of thing from their head. And we have decided that we are not going to be separate from the people. So we have to be dressed, saying, speaking, behaving just like one of them. And we have to understand and observe very clearly the responses of the people while we are performing. And as Andy suggested, we created a story narrative, taking bits from many different stories and little fabrication, and then we had a narrative. And in between the narratives, there are open questions. See, we are in a dilemma like this. This is a dramatic situation. I don't know what to do, where to go. And can anyone help us by suggesting something? And then suddenly somebody will say, I have done this, something like this. I have done this. I have not done this. So then start slowly, without knowing, people start telling stories, and Sam and all these people come and they initiate the talk, and the actors just move out of the scene. They're there as participants. And then we come back and rejoin the thing, and then we have the narrative completed. So it's a kind of participation elicitation. We are just trying to increase this kind of belief, so that the stories they tell goes a little more deeper, and all these things are recorded. And that per question, how this would be used in the data analysis and writing the paper or understand situation, is to be done by the clinical experts and the research people, which maybe Sanjana or Sam can explain, not the people who created it. So this is This was the kind of approach we did. And you wanted to complete something. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to respond to what Tranya Katar has brought in. I don't know whether when you described, you are sort of having one story to be showed to different classrooms or different schools. So from our experience, we would say that that may not be sort of appropriate just to show the have the theater play, and then you just expect the students to understand the story. What I realized is that what is more important is to have a dialogue and see what the students have come up with, or what are their thoughts about. Are they getting the message in the perspective that you have in mind, or are you getting a different perspective from them, which you may have to work on, or somebody else has to help them get over that thing? Andy wanted to say something more, or
yeah, just a quick one. It's a really, really good question, because with all of these things, at the end of the day, you do need a model. You need a kind of template. You need somebody to say, this is what this program is. And programs can be replicated, they can be altered, but it's not like we're trying to reinvent the wheel every time. What I would say is I think we're in the very early days of this. In the UK, the question of schools and mental health and well-being of pupils is something that is emerging in importance. And I think over the next few years, we will begin to see more theatre and other forms of engagement, and we will begin to see more expertise. And at that point, we will begin to see more specific models that will be created, that you will be able to go to a website, perhaps, and there will be a program of, this is a good way of working through with this age group or that age group or this age group. And it may say, here's the scene to start with. This is the way in which you may engage in conversation. These are the resources you will need. This project at the moment hasn't developed that resource. And at the moment, there is no plans to. It's possible that may emerge out of the work we're doing, but it's not there now. So that's a kind of very practical response to your question.
Yeah, I think I will now respond to what Vishnu said, for other people also to realize that, see, what we have done till now was to develop a play which can be showcased with a larger audience. But due to Corona, we couldn't do that. So one of the questions which Vishnu asked, when compared to other methodologies, where do we stand now? We do not have enough data to say that, because we have not been able to complete what we intended to do. So I don't know whether Andy or Sanjay would like to say something more about it, or Sanjana?
About the so about which part? So the thing is, how do we evaluate it, right?
Yeah.
Or the impact of something like a theatre-based methods. So what we were planning to do in this study was do a pre and post questionnaire. So we have made something called the mental health literacy questionnaire. We've adapted a questionnaire. So what we plan to do is, so before in the final play, we were supposed to ask the participants to do a pre-questionnaire where they would fill up a questionnaire, about mental health literacy. And then after watching the play, they were supposed to fill the questionnaire again. So we could see the difference or the change that, watching that play kind of brought about. So that was what we were supposed to do. But now because of COVID, we didn't have that final set of plays. So we have short films instead. So here we don't have a pre and post questionnaire, but we are attaching the questionnaire to the short film and, to the digital story. So that's the way we plan to evaluate the theatre-based methods that we're using. If that is.
So will that help answer Vishnu's question, or no? Vishnu is asking whether, how do you know whether this method is better than other methods? Yeah.
That is not something I do not think this would do that. Yeah, but it would say that theatre is a very effective method. That definitely.
What
Yeah.
I feel that the other usual routine methodologies have its own benefit, but this can little go deeper into the reality of the situation, the mindset of the persons involved. So this may give more subtler answers with which the analyst can read more. So they'll be more open, much more open to that. That's what, for example, I'll tell you one incident. In one particular place, uh, in in all the place we have this kind of interaction. We are going to them and asking them to do something in between the performance and ask questions, eliciting answers, etc. But in Weiler too, you, Sanjana, may remember that we have been told that they're going to be mostly women and they are Muslim women, and it's a very orthodox society. They may not engage in a dialogue. They may not talk. They may, so you should not address them directly. Just treat them very carefully. Be away from them. So we started like that, but by the half of the performance, they started asking questions. They started coming. They stood up from the seat. They came to the performing venue. They held the actors by hand. They touched, and the whole organizers was stuck. So what is women are doing? They took all the taboos out, and finally they were dancing with us. They were narrating the stories. They were speaking aloud, and it went on for more than 1.5 hours of their involvement. See, this somewhere, even the whole society thought that no, they are not approachable. Theatre has this kind of ability or sensitivity to cut across the real persona and to make them engage in a more meaningful dialogue, more honest dialogue, which the researchers can use as the data to understand the situation. So that's what I feel. So I'm not saying that this is a better thing, but it has this kind of faculty with which it can engage in a more meaningful dialogue with the people.
Yeah. In relation to that, I think it might be, when you talk about mental health literacy, what would you assess as the audience having acquired mental health literacy also might be an issue? Is it just responding to the questions, or whether they have an experience of, or what is their experience of being there, and what has come out of the watching or the involvement and the stories is something which needs to be looked at. But I don't know whether we will be able to capture all those things in a very perfect manner. So what I'm trying to say is that, so if you look at the theatre, there wasn't anything which was shown which would affect them, but they were wanting to talk about it, provided you provide a space for them to come out with their thing. So it is important that you have that kind of a mechanism when you are providing this kind of a play, especially in relation to mental health. Maybe if it is related to climate change or other things, this may not come up. But again, poverty-related, housing-related things may come up, or traumas related to the disaster and things may come up. But still, this I think may bring up a lot of things to the forefront, or the figure, if I have to use that term. So you need to have adequate kind of a atmosphere or support, so that these issues can be taken care of.
Dr. Radhika here. Can I ask something? Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
What I want to know is, working with students, especially I teach in college, so creating a safe space in the college where students can come and talk about issues, and then from there taking it ahead to work with them on the concerns that is bothering them, would be an appropriate way to address mental health issues, because we have students from various SES and they have different issues, and sometimes all of them together in the same platform completely close down few students who don't respond. So maybe a space where at their convenient time they can come and speak with their group who they are comfortable with, will be an appropriate way to start off the process.
Yeah, Auntie wants to respond, or Chandradasan wants to talk, because otherwise I'll go back to my childhood and
I'll say that. I'll say that. Now, I myself was teaching in a college. Of course, I was teaching chemistry, and I have a lot of students who have personal issues and who will not close. See, if somebody wants to open it, it it is just depending on the rapport you are building with him or her. So it just depends upon the personal rapport, and they should have the confidence that this person is reliable. We can talk to him, and there will be some use out of it, etc. So there was this kind of platform building. But it cannot be a kind of, say, a program. So that we are having a program where we are going to build up a kind of thing. It's a continuous attitude which you create. Of course, theater can be something where people will be a little more open. But as you said, the real people will not come to the theater and do it there. So it's a kind of approach which we do, and we should just communicate always that no, you can come to me, and you can interact, and there can be some meaningful dialogue. If it's a meaningful dialogue, then everybody will be ready to do that. So that's what I just thought. Whatever is the issue, mental health or other.
Yeah, please, Andy, go ahead. Yeah.
I think there's a really interesting tension between the idea of theatre and things like mental health, because obviously as soon as you talk about theatre and drama, you're imagining that you're exposing yourself to other people. So actually, you're probably thinking it's the worst possible thing I would want to do if I'm not ready to talk, if I'm struggling with things. So it is difficult in that way, the way people understand what is theatre, what does it mean? Why would I possibly be in a group of people and talk about my issues? So I think that's a real challenge around it, because actually what theatre does, like many other forms, like digital storytelling and other forms, is it has a range of techniques and strategies that allow you to gently reveal your story, or to reveal it in ways that allow you to do it without using words. Perhaps you might be using images, but how you coax people into that space to show them that they can, begin to tell their stories in new languages is a very interesting dilemma, really, and an interesting challenge for all of us.
Rithi, you want to ask a question, or you want to respond to what Razia brought?
Kind of both. It's a question going off of what you've been talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
So kind of going off of what everyone's been saying, as well as some of the dialogue in the panel discussion earlier. I just want to know, for over conducting this research project, what did you find were the advantages, I guess, of then using this kind of interdisciplinary approach rather than just theatre or just kind of traditional psychological scientific research? What aspects of both came together in a helpful way or in an effective way, and why? Well, I guess, why did you initially choose to do that, and then what was helpful, or what were the advantages or takeaways from that, if that's all right?
Yeah, before Andy responds to that, I would like to respond to what Razia brought up. So I think this is a great challenge which you said about, the different the context. I think Chandradasan really said about, addressing or relating to the context. I can really understand what Radhika said, because I had several experience of bringing certain issues, and within the classroom, there used to be sort of pulls to different directions because of the idea related to the equality and different things that came up. So how that the space that you are wanting to have can be addressed, I think if I am in your position, I might think of having different sections of places for them to express themselves, rather than bringing all of them together and experimenting with it. or if at a later space, if you are in a college where you have the opportunity to work with a group on a long-term basis, maybe over a period of time, you may be able to merge them or bring them together and have work through them also. I think Radhika comes from the same city where I also come from. And we had kind of a school opportunity within classrooms to have this kind of, extracurricular activities. I don't know whether you had it or not. Once in a week, we had a extracurricular period where we used to play our own, write our own dramas or, things and express ourselves. Unfortunately, those things are not there, I guess. But this is something which you have, you can probably experiment and see that. Yeah. Over to Rishi.
Thank you.
Questions first comes from Andy. Yeah.
I just want to say something quickly, and then I'll probably hand over to Sanjana, because I think she'll probably be able to talk more about the interdisciplinary benefits of it. But just to say, in terms of the impulse, in response to that, the impulse came actually from a previous project that we'd done, which was around resilience, and a medical health team had approached the community theatre team that I worked for, and the impulse comes from community theatre and applied theatre's focus on bottom-up knowledge, on finding ways to have discussions and to break down these hierarchies of knowledge, which is something that is less prevalent in medical science, perhaps, as far as I'm aware of. So that was the impulse, that our ethos was something that would be useful to bring in discussion with medical science. I'll hand over to Sanjana, if that's all right, about the interdisciplinary benefits.
Yeah, so the thing is, we don't really have time, but then so what we did, like in terms of methods, we had both the qualitative methods of research, and we had, we have this questionnaire which is quantitative, and we also have the more creative based methods. So these were the three things, and we were using all of it at the same time. So when it came to the qualitative method, what was interesting was we were studying mental health literacy, but instead of using a survey, we used something called narrative interviewing. So we were like, the nature of the question, how we were doing the interviewing was, we weren't asking them specific questions, but we allowed participants to just tell us about their lives. So that was a different approach to mental health literacy. It hasn't been done before. So that was what was kind of different in terms of, interdisciplinary. We were also using an appropriate qualitative method alongside, theater. So that kind of using a narrative kind of interviewing helped in doing theater later on, because we could give them the appropriate extracts, and, so it kind of worked together. Otherwise, we would have used something like a survey. So that's what I have to say, I guess, in terms of methods and interdisciplinary methods, kind of working.
Thanks.